What's up, guys? Everyone's favorite corporate mouthpiece here. You can call me Khasino, aka the #1 Foxnext chill. Today we're going to talk about why Foxnext is the only truly perfect company in the world. We're also going to talk about why I will never support the player base with anything, and most importantly, why you guys should check out all the awesome ads in this video. We got a lot to cover, so let's jump right into it. What's up, guys? So today we're going to talk about the spending strike slash boycott that's currently sort of going on in Marvel Strike Force right now. I'm going to explain why I caution the people who initiated this boycott against starting it in the first place, primarily on the grounds that I thought it was really poor timing for doing something like this, and also just going to kind of clear up some of the confusion and some of the misquotes being attributed to me regarding my stance on this entire situation. That said, before we even get into that, I want to clear up a couple things. If you're new to the channel and you're like, what the heck was that intro? Firstly, I'm not an employee of Foxnext or Marvel or Disney or Scopely, and I get to say whatever I want. Having said that, a lot of people think that I have to toe the company line or I'm encouraged to say one thing or another, and my favorite is when people think that I have to defend Foxnext because somehow it makes me more money or something. So again, they don't pay me anything at all. I make $0 from Foxnext, and not only that, but I actually get more views when I talk trash on Foxnext. So if I just wanted to, do what was best for me and make money, every video would just be called Foxnext Sucks Dicks, and it would get probably a lot of views. But anyway, I do get to say whatever I want. I'm happy to prove that. Check this out. Everyone who works at Foxnext has chlamydia. That is a fact. 100% of them, they all do. Even the janitors. See? No penalty. Anyway, moving on from that, I also want to clarify, some people have asked why I kept quiet on this issue for so long. So this was posted 2 days ago in the evening to Reddit. And the evening that it was posted, I'd already finished doing everything Marvel Strike Force related that I was going to do for the day. The very next day, I woke up and I did a Twitch stream, and we talked about it for over an hour on the Twitch stream, and occasionally referencing it throughout the rest of the Twitch stream. Then when that wrapped up, I could have used that afternoon time to make a video about this, but the Karnak Blitz was starting, so instead I did another live stream on YouTube this time, and again, talked about my position and my stance, my feelings on the entire boycott issue. But yeah, today is the very next day after that, and I'm making a video addressing it right away. So the idea that I'm trying not to address this topic is crazy. In fact, I feel like since the letter was posted, I've done nothing but talk about this topic. But that doesn't matter. I'm going to explain where I stand on this whole thing. So let's get into it. All right, so Foxnext just put out a blog post detailing a ton of really, really cool stuff that I'm super excited to share with you guys, features that I'm really, really hyped for. However, obviously first we have to talk about the actual strike itself. So having said that, my stance on the strike is nuanced. Everyone is trying to paint me as, I knew it, he's against it, or yeah, of course he's for it, everyone's for it. But again, I tend to actually have thought out opinions on things, so it's not as simple as for or against. There are parts of it that I strongly agree with, there are parts of it that I strongly disagree with, and I'm just gonna give you, again, my unfiltered thoughts on the matter. So first we'll take a look at that, and then we'll talk about a lot of the stuff coming up. But I also wanna mention that, again, I caution the people who authored this letter against posting it and initiating this strike, in part because I was aware that a lot of upcoming stuff that they just recently announced was on the way. Things that make a lot of the concerns stated in the letter not as bad as they seem, things designed to help with some of the issues that people were expressing in the letter. However, I can't just come out and say, oh yeah, they're gonna be doing this, this, and this, because I'm not even supposed to know the information. So for the people hearing this, oh, well, why does Foxnext tell you if you can't say anything? They don't. Foxnext doesn't tell me, they don't even want me to know. I find a lot of this stuff out through my own channels. Again, it's information I am not supposed to have. And so it puts me in a tricky situation where I see people complaining about something, I know a solution is already being worked on, and I can only say so much. I can't say, oh yeah, that's already gonna be fixed, give it a month. I can just say, I promise you that they've heard these complaints. The reason I'm not making a video about it is because that doesn't need to happen. I promise you they're aware, wait and see what happens. And I get why, when people don't have access to the same information, why they get concerned, and I totally understand if people don't wanna trust me, but what can I say? I mean, I continue to demonstrate that if I'm trying to communicate that the devs are aware of something or they're working on something. I'm not making it up. So that's kind of where we're at, is I've known some of these solutions were already in play, and so I basically just tried to say, like, hey, maybe don't create such a stink about this particular issue, because it's just going to come out that they were already aware of this being an issue and they were already working on a solution to it before you even said anything. So that's a bit of where we're at. That said, I completely understand it from the frustrated player perspective, which is they don't know that it's being worked on and they're upset to the point where they want to say something. So I get that. I wish people trusted me when I said, just, you'll see, it will come to light. I promise everything's going to be okay. The sky's not falling, but people tend not to listen to me when I say that. So this is kind of where we're at. But again, I don't blame the people who actually drafted the letter, because they had no way of knowing that a lot of this stuff was in the works, already being worked on, and, well, they rightfully want a lot of this stuff fixed. I also just want to take this opportunity to touch on the fact that a lot of people think that because I haven't made a video about something, that I am not addressing it, that I don't see it as a problem, and I cannot stress this clearly enough. I do most of my fighting behind the scenes. You won't see it, and it's because when I make a public video condemning Foxnex, they tend not to appreciate it as much as when I try to have a reasonable conversation with them via the community managers. But a lot of people think that, oh, I don't speak out against Foxnex because it pays to be in bed with them and get money, anything like that. If I were just looking out for my own self-interest, I wouldn't try to work with Foxnex at all. I would just make videos on leaks and stuff like that and get tons of views, and that would be my plan. Instead, I try to maintain a somewhat decent relationship with Foxnex so that they listen to me. And so far, they have, to some degree. It's not like, you know, now I'm in charge and I make any decisions on anything whatsoever, but they hear me and they pass along my feedback. So a lot of the things detailed in this letter are things that I have been complaining about. I just haven't bothered to make a video about it because Foxnex already knows how I feel about the matter, and they're appreciative of the fact that I just say it straight to them. Sometimes I do get impatient, and if it seems like they're not listening to me at all, or they have no interest in addressing my concerns, maybe then I'll go ahead and make a video about it. But yeah, again, just because you don't see a video on my channel, just like if you don't see an announcement from Foxnex, it doesn't mean that there aren't solutions already in the works. That said, again, I totally understand if you haven't seen proof that something is being handled or addressed, being upset that it's not. So I'm not faulting anyone for that. I'm just asking if you could trust me a little. If you don't want to trust me, don't. But anyway, moving on. So looking at the letter itself, again, there are aspects of this letter that I strongly agree with. There are also aspects of this letter that I strongly disagree with. So first I'll talk about what I don't agree with, and then I'll talk about what I do. To kind of simplify it, I agree with most of what's been said about Red Stars. I disagree with most of what's been said about Orange Gear, and there's a smattering of other complaints and frustrations, but I try to stay out of how something feels, because several things mentioned in this letter are people saying, oh, it feels this way, and I totally get that, and you know, at the end of the day, we play this game to have fun, so people's feelings matter, but I'm only so sympathetic to that, because sometimes people say, you know, a perfect example, they wrote in the letter here, we feel, indeed many in the community feel, that we are on the verge of collapse. I mean, I feel bad that people feel that dread, but one of the main reasons people feel that dread is because they all keep saying it to each other. It's not actually true. If you look at, for example, a Blitz participation numbers, like that's the first thing I look at. When someone makes a claim like that, like, it's obvious the game's dying, like, well, okay, let's take a look. No, it's obvious the game is growing. That's very different than dying. Well, I asked 7 people, they all said it's dying, must be dying. Okay, it's dying. So it's situations like that where I understand, you know, if you're surrounded by people who are all frustrated and can't wait to quit, and your buddy just told you why he quit, and his buddy just told you why he quit, I get why it might feel that way, but that doesn't bother me as much. I tend to stop and think, all right, these are my feelings, but what's the actual state of affairs? So I don't think the game is on the verge of collapse, and I don't think it's healthy telling other people that the game's on the verge of collapse, because it just adds dread to people's day for no reason. But anyway, that's just one thing. So looking at some of the other points that I tend to disagree with, they wrote, for those of you Alliance leaders out there and event members, when is last time season end rewards was what it should be, a day of rewards, excitement, and happy teammates? I look forward to season rewards constantly. I am an alliance leader. We have an entire cluster, and we get excited about season rewards every day. And I want to point out that the people who authored this letter get the single best season rewards in the game. So they're complaining, oh, it's not fun to get those season rewards. Like, if they're not enjoying their season rewards, then that means no one's enjoying season rewards, because they get the cream of the crop. And I don't agree with that, but it's easy to just always ask for more. They also wrote, instead it's devolved into who's leaving today, are my friends checking out, will my alliance survive, etc. So I want to be clear on this one. I'm not suggesting that they are not seeing a fairly high churn rate. And in particular, one of the weaknesses that this game has is that once you get way, way, way towards late game, it gets kind of stale and there's not that much to do. One of the reasons why I don't push to try to be in the #1 alliance in the game is because I would literally run out of things to do. Everything would become maintenance. There wouldn't be some other alliance that I'm trying to beat. There would just be other alliances that I have to beat, or it means I've dropped the ball. Everything that comes out, I'm gonna try to 100% it, and anytime we fail to 100% it just means that we messed up on our job. Things like that, it just becomes maintenance. And so games like this see a lot of burnout and churn of players towards the top, and that's very, very normal. So I don't doubt that they're experiencing it, but I don't find it out of the ordinary. Having said that, I do think that Fox Next could do more to put in fun things for the late game players to chase. But again, this is a perfect example. As we'll talk about, they were already planning additional challenge tiers. We're already planning you being able to change the difficulty of the raid yourself and get better rewards for that. They're already coming out with Dark Dimension 3, so there already is plenty of stuff that's on the way for late game players to do. And again, I get that not everyone else was aware of that, but I've been saying from the get-go, please trust me, they are aware that there's not enough to do for a lot of the late game players, and it is something that they're looking into. And that's really what it is. So I'm not too much on board with what they've said there. Again, I get why they feel that way, but not me so much. They wrote here, ISO 8 mixed bag. This has great potential. However, given history, it is thought that this will be a form of reset like Red Stars were, as well as another strangulation mechanic and paywall like all the others that exist, which is pretty much every resource in game. So again, I mean, not only was I a part of the ISO 8 playtest, but I got to see an early iteration of ISO 8 before they even did the playtest, and I've always been a fan of the feature. I like it, and it was never intended to be anything like Red Stars. And again, I get why people who weren't in the room with me when I was hearing this from the creative director don't believe me, but again, because I do have the information I have, this is why my stance on this is what it is. My sense of what ISO 8 was from, again, the lead creative director of the game was basically, we understand exactly what's happened with Red Stars. We understand why players find it frustrating, and we want to have an answer for that. So I think they intended for ISO 8 to be like, hey, we know we got you guys stuck with Red Stars, but we can offer you ISO 8. And so that is how it felt to me when checking it out as a feature. I found it a very welcome addition. It was, even with the early amount of RNG that it had, I thought it was a very reasonable amount of RNG. I'm definitely happy with the fact that they're going with none, but I thought it was a very reasonable amount of RNG to begin with, and it certainly wasn't something that was designed to strangle players out of every last penny that they could. It was very much a player-friendly feature, in my opinion, and that's always the first thing I look for, is it free-to-play friendly, and is it just generally player-based friendly in terms of progression, not RNG-based. So I think, again, I get why they're making, uneducated guesses about what ISO 8 would be like, but I actually saw it. I didn't find it to be anything like that. And then one last thing that I disagreed with, and then I'll talk about all the things in this letter that I do agree with. But they wrote, Endgame, Fox Next, your frustration game design philosophy has evolved into a predatory, abusive, and repulsive dynamic that has sucked all the oxygen from the room. In short, I just felt that's a tad dramatic. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no one at Fox Next who wants people to feel frustrated. There's no one that wants people to feel abused. They want everyone enjoying the game. They want you to love the game and enjoy it so much that you tell all your friends about it, and that it's your favorite thing, and that every holiday and every birthday you ask people for Google Play and iTunes gift cards because you love the game so much and you can't wait to spend money on it. That's what they want. So I don't feel victimized. Yes, of course, they sometimes make frustrating decisions that as a player, can irritate you on a day-to-day basis, but at the end of the day, and I mean this sincerely, if you log in every day and you feel like a predator is abusing you and you're repulsed, you should quit because you're not having fun. Like, at the end of the day, we play games to have fun. So to use terms like that, like if I ever felt like that about anything, I would run away from it, right? So again, I thought that was a tad dramatic. I know they're trying to get a point across, but I just try to speak in a way that I think is fair to everyone involved, even the people being addressed. So I wasn't a big fan of a line like that personally, but I get where they're coming from, and we'll just chalk it up to they were a bit worked up. On to the things that I agree with. So they wrote here, attrition and throttling, orange gear economy, and red stars is completely broken. Players need a means of progress. Right now, for many vets and MSF supporting player base, it's down to a lottery system where it's thousands upon thousands of dollars for a mere chance to progress. Right now, the single biggest power metric to increase in the game is almost exclusively locked behind RNG, and RNG-based progression feels terrible. There's nothing good about it. I've never been in support of this. So actually, small side tangent on this issue. A lot of people, for some reason, have tried to rewrite history and say, oh, Khasino, I remember back in the day, you were the only content creator who was for red stars. I don't know how you could remember that, because it was never the case. I've never been pro red stars. I've never liked the feature. I've always disliked it. Now, what you're remembering is that pretty much every other content creator was vehemently against it, absolutely despised it, and decried that it would be the death of the game, and I wasn't saying that. I was the only person saying, this isn't quite the apocalypse, it's not as terrible as people think. While I'm not a fan of it, I don't think it's going to be the death of the game. That was pretty much in total my stance on it. And turns out that the game and the player numbers and everything have grown since then, so I think I get points for being right on that, right? It wasn't the death of the game. It's never been a feature that I've been happy with, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm always fighting behind the scenes to try to get the devs to budge on certain things that I think are unfun, and this is a huge one. Again, you may not see me making a video about how I feel on red stars every week, but I promise you if you ask either of the community managers, they will tell you that I relentlessly annoy them, constantly reminding them that RNG-based progression is a terrible, unfun mechanic. So I couldn't agree with this more. This next part here, new characters, they're great for the excitement and possibilities of what might be achieved by them. There's not enough gold, ability mats, gear, and red stars being distributed that it sucks the good out of the little bit of new content we do get and is looked upon negatively. So I don't actually agree with the gold, ability mats, gear, red stars. Some of those you can debate individually, but for me it's less about the materials and it's more about the stars. And I don't know, this probably isn't as much of an issue for newer players who have characters at various, 2, 3, 4 stars that they're still using for a lot of stuff. But as a late game player, when a new character comes out, if I don't get a character up to at least like 4 or 5 gold stars, they're useless alongside the rest of their team, because the rest of their team is typically already at, 5, 6, maybe even 7 gold stars at this point. And the content that I'm doing, the blitz matches and stuff like that, the war matches, it just doesn't make sense having someone be that much of a weak link. So I do think that Foxnext should reevaluate how generous they are when they first release a character. I think that the way to go is to make the character more available in terms of stars and stuff like that, and maybe make the actual gear a little bit tougher. But unlike stars, where you have a limited window to get the stars for that character and you get what you get and then you have to wait a long time for it to come back around, if gear or ability upgrades or things like that were the component that was a bit rarer, at least you could pick and choose, and then if you wanted to, you could make sure that when that character came around, you could get them to a sufficient power that you could use them with the rest of their team. So generally, I do think that Foxnext could definitely do better with what they're doing with the new character releases. And especially lately, I think they're trying to make up for lost time here, but they've been releasing characters far too quickly compared to not giving us a big enough increase in resources to level them with, again, especially lately. I also very much agree with this. They wrote, negative progress, stealth buffing raids leads to severe frustrations. So I have seen them stealth buff things before, and every single time I call them out on it, sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes in a video, but I never let that go by. I haven't seen them stealth buff anything lately that I remember, but yeah, it's never been okay, and I'm quick to shine a spotlight on it. If I do see it, if someone shows me like a before and after picture and something has clearly been stealth buffed or stealth nerfed, whatever it is, that always bothers me tremendously. So yeah, I agree that they shouldn't do that again. I don't think they've done it lately, but if they have, shame on them. They also wrote, do something about Red Star dupes. It is insanity. And I agree, I'm not a huge fan of the amount of currency and which currency we get for various Red Star duplicates. The way the current Red Star system is set up, it's for the most part forced my roster to stall, and no matter how much money I want to dump into Red Stars, I'm going to see very, very marginal improvements. It's just a bad system, it's not rewarding, and it's why I've renamed Whale Wars to Don't Buy Red Stars, so I can show everyone what an awful return on investment you get for these things once you have pretty much everyone at 4 Red Star. So yeah, I continue to be unhappy with Red Stars, and that's where we're at. And lastly, and I saved this one for last, and I bolded it because this one I feel very strongly about, and that is add characters to stores and or campaigns at the same pace as new characters are released. To me, this seems like an absolute no-brainer. If there's a single line in this entire letter that I could not agree more with, it's this one. I do not understand the logic behind Foxnex not adhering to this. Maybe they make more money by not releasing characters at a set time and being able to have random extra deals and offers for them, but I'm not sympathetic about that at all. They already make good money on new characters. I don't care if they could make even more money. I don't care. That needs to be done, absolutely. Characters should become more farmable or put in stores or campaigns or whatever it is at the same pace that new characters are released. That's really it. Like, I cannot think of a single reason why not to do that other than not caring about the players and just wanting to make money. And while sometimes I'm understanding of things that they do to try and make money, some of the things they do, I feel like they don't necessarily harm the player base. This one just adds confusion and makes it unfun. I very, very much agree with that. So that's a bit of what I agree with and what I don't agree with from the letter. But now we get to talk about, in my opinion, the more fun and exciting stuff, which is that a lot of the complaints from this letter have already been addressed, or not only that, were already being addressed going as far back as months ago, and the dev team were not as transparent as I think they should be. I think they should just always be open about what they're working on. I understand certain things like Marvel or Disney or whoever would require them to keep certain projects under wraps, but things about features and rewards changes and stuff like that, I absolutely think that they should be more open with those things. I don't know why they wait to reveal them till the last minute. It's beyond me. I don't agree with it, but a lot of these things were already in the works, so I'm happy to be able to go over them with you guys now, so let's check them out. All right, so we're looking at this early 2020 update. Something interesting about it, you'll see it already just says on it February 1st, 2020, so even though it's already out, this was something that they were already planning on releasing prior to news of the strike and things like that. And so it says here, you can see they're working on a number of feature improvements and forthcoming new content in light of recent elevated community concerns. We'd like to share those with you today instead of waiting until next week. Again, I wish I understood what their perceived benefit of waiting on it is. Should always just share it with us right away. Anyway, farmable character cadence. One of the big questions surrounds how we release characters to be farmable via campaign nodes, stores, orbs, or other methods. Moving forward, our goal is to make at least 2 previously unfarmable characters farmable each month. For me, this is mostly a fix. I would want to pay attention to how many characters they typically release in a month. If it's more than 2, then I find this insufficient, but it's still a step in the right direction at least. They said there may be rare months where we fall short of this goal, but at minimum you can expect 1 previously unfarmable character to become farmable on the first Wednesday of every month. As we enter February, in a few days, the first character to become farmable according to this new schedule will be Namor, who will be available on February 5th. We'll also introduce farmable paths for a few more characters, including the long-awaited arrival of Colossus later that same month. So, good that Colossus is finally going to be farmable. I don't understand what they wait for. I think they wait too long, but it's a step in the right direction. I am going to continue to try to hold them to make them farmable at the same rate that you release characters, but this is a step in the right direction. It's definitely good news. New campaigns and orange gear availability. We touched on upcoming new content. The next week we'll release 2 new challenge tiers for all challenges. The following week we plan to have out Heroes Campaign Chapter 7, where you'll be able to get additional purple gear material and character shards, and for the first time, orange gear materials will become farmable. Specifically, we're planning on having 2 different orange gear materials per node in this new campaign chapter with a similar drop rate to existing purple gear materials. Paired with that will be the release of our most formidable challenge to date, Dark Dimension 3. Following that, we're targeting to have a new chapter of the Villains campaign out in March and a chapter for Nexus campaign in April. Those will also contain orange gear materials. For additional access to orange gear, we'll be adjusting the raid store to allow you to use your raid credits to purchase the orange gear raid orb. This will be coming in the second half of February. These increases should result in at least a 150% increase in orange gear material. By no means does this mean we're done with our goal of increasing the availability of orange gear. We'll continue looking for additional avenues to give players access to more of these resources in the game. So, in short, if I have this right, 2 new challenge tiers for every challenge, new Heroes chapter, new Villain campaign chapters in March, new Nexus campaign chapter in April. Yeah, they are clearly working on a lot of new content. This is in addition to not only Dark Dimension 3, which is new content, ISO 8, which is not only new content, but it's more expansive new content than people realize. It's not just a system, there's campaign missions and stuff involved in that, which we'll get into lower on in this blog. And then they're also working on a entirely new game mode. So they have been working on a lot of content. So one of the main complaints that I've been seeing, including what's outlined in the letter, is that they haven't been working on any content and they've just been doing new character releases. And this is another one of those things where I've been cautioning people by saying, I know they're working on new content. I can only say so much about it, but I've heard plenty about the fact that they're working on new content. So please trust me when I say new content is coming, whether you make a big fuss about it or not. New content is still coming. So if you make a big stink about it, they're just gonna reveal, oh yeah, we were already working on that, which is another reason why I was like, I don't necessarily think this needs to happen right now, but here we are. Improvements to the Red Star system. Of all the fixes here, I do find this to be good news, but I do find this particular fix by them underwhelming. They wrote, we've also been working on improvements to the Red Star system, want to share some updates now. The last change to Red Stars was made in 3.2 to enable direct progression and add value to duplicate drops with the introduction of elite orbs and promotion tokens. We'll be making more adjustments to the system in February, including the addition of a silver promotion credit to your daily rewards. So getting a silver promotion credit every day is a good step. Give players 2 more Red Star orbs every week. That I find laughable. Might as well not do that. Obviously I want them to do that, but 2, we should be getting like 20 more every week. And add Elite 4 credits as a reward to challenges. So that's good. Being able to get Elite 4 credits as a reward from challenges, I'm interested to see the amount. I'm not expecting it to be much, but it is a step in the right direction. Constantly looking to improve players' Red Star progression and the overall Red Star economy, and will continue to improve the output and feel of this system, but know that these revisions will be an ongoing and iterative process. A step in the right direction, not particularly drastic. I'd like to see more change than this, but it's still good news. Reducing low quality time. Another thing the team is looking into is reducing the amount of time players spend in existing modes like Blitz. We have some features we're trying out that we hope will reduce the low quality time spent in that mode. We're not ready to discuss those features in detail yet in case we don't end up being happy with them, but we do want you all to know that this is a part of the game that we're actively looking to improve. If these features pass muster, then expect to hear more about them in the coming weeks. Again, they're not really saying much there, but they are saying that they have heard what people are saying and they are working on it, and some people are not as understanding as they could be. Sometimes new features take time, but I like that they're working on that, and I don't know what they're cooking up, but I do want to see it. The ISO 8 refactor. On the feature front, there's several things the team is working on to release in the first half of 2020. We discussed the ISO 8 system with you last year, and in October, a community playtest generated a lot of great constructive feedback that we took to heart. So much so, in fact, that the team decided to overhaul the system significantly, changing the mode from one that dropped ISO randomly to a deterministic fusion progression system that emphasizes theory crafting. We heard the community's feedback against the random nature of the old mode, and we changed it. When the feature launches, you'll be able to farm your ISO in a new campaign with a new energy, allowing you to not only get additional ISO 8, but also more gear and gold as you equip higher tier ISO, you'll unlock new abilities for characters specifically of your choosing. Again, the ability to theory craft and give players more agency over the choices made in this mode were two overarching goals for our team during its rework, and those were a direct result of community feedback. ISO is still a few months away, but we'll share more news to come as its release gets closer. So again, this is good news. Again, I found the amount of RNG that the mode had to be very reasonable, but you know, that was basically a compromise saying, I get it that you guys are gonna have some RNG here, but yeah, I find this to be a tolerable amount. Looks like they got rid of it entirely. I consider that an absolute win. Interestingly, most of the issues that I had heard people had with ISO 8 weren't really tied to the ISO 8 because again, weren't really tied to the RNG, because again, the RNG was fairly reasonable, but yeah, nonetheless, this is absolutely a good thing, and I want to point out again that ISO 8, it's making clear here, will also come with new campaign, new energy, new ways to get more gear and gold, so they are giving us more resources through that avenue and new stuff to do, in addition to a new system that emphasizes theory crafting and custom building of characters, so I'm super excited for that. Yeah, that's really all I have to say on that, is I'm very much looking forward to it. Moving on, Raid Difficulty Selector. Another feature we want to announce is the Raid Difficulty Selector. This feature allows alliances who complete a raid at a specific difficulty to increase the difficulty of current raids for added challenges and rewards. It'll be applied to Ultima 6 and Ultima 7 at release. We hope to use it in additional raids going forward. One of the reasons we wanted to get this out is the feel of Ultima 7 for most players is simply too hard. Making it a one-size-fits-all approach to raids didn't seem right. To that end, we will also be flattening out and generally reducing the difficulty of Ultima 7 to create a better experience and allow players to use the Raid Difficulty Selector to find their own sweet spot. I absolutely love this idea. Allowing you to choose how much of a challenge you want and what rewards you want to get sounds good to me. Ultima 7 Raid Difficulty, on that topic, we've heard feedback. So this, I'm not going to go into too much. They basically just said, we're not aware of some of these stealth changes that people are claiming. If there were stealth changes, they were unintentional, could have been the result of a bug. If you can ever report or demonstrate to us that something was changed and not announced, we can look into it right away and comment. And again, I can't speak for them, I can speak for me. If I see that they stealth made something a lot tougher or just stealth made rewards for something a lot worse, I will call them out on it, possibly publicly, definitely privately. So yeah, they're basically saying, you know, if you ever see that, don't assume that we did it on purpose. Send it to us and we can look into it. It could be the result of a mistake. Contacts list. They are adding contacts. You'll be able to add direct contacts in the chat screen, be able to direct message friends. Yeah, I like this feature. I think that this feature should have been included since launch, and I don't think that it's going to have as much of an impact today, but still good news, so right on. And finally, and I'm very hyped about this, new game mode, real-time PvP. This is how the contacts feature will be used. You'll be able to battle other players in a real-time PvP mode. And they're saying the initial uses will be just for friendly challenges between your contacts and alliance members, including the ability to draft a team from your roster and ban opposing characters. Also as a useful tool to test tactics and team builds. As we continue to iterate on this feature after its initial release, we look forward to improving it with new functionality that encourages competition and drops rewards. We're still in the early phase of that design, so we can't share all the exciting details just yet, but we look forward to hearing your thoughts on how we can use real-time PvP to make it more fun. So this I love because this solves several problems all at once. Firstly, I've thought that real-time PvP would be super fun in this game, basically since I started playing, and I think everyone's agreed with me, so that's fantastic. And what's even more exciting about this is that the first way in which they're implementing it is there's no penalty, no consequence, no rewards, just for friendly challenges, which means you can also use it for testing. So this is the dual and practice feature as well as real-time PvP. I love everything about this and I'm super excited about this. I did know they were working on something new and something fun, and what I was told about it was that what they were working on that was new and fun is 100% free-to-play player friendly. So I knew they were doing something that was gonna pretty much make everyone happy and could only possibly be seen as good news. I didn't know exactly what. I'm seeing it now and I absolutely love it. So yeah, as a fan of this game, I think this is absolutely awesome. That said, the teams that I see people using there are terrible and both those players suck. Wrapping it up, as you can see, we have a lot of stuff coming in a short amount of time, partially due to the fact that a number of these features were unfortunately delayed. There are things happening in February we wanted to happen over the last few months, which is why things may have felt a little light on content recently. One of those pieces of content is Cyclops, so we knew the community's been asking for it, didn't want to hold him back again. We take the community concerns raised this week very seriously. We hope this early look at our roadmap and the areas of Strikeforce we're working to improve helps to show we're listening to your feedback. As ever, we appreciate the time and effort that our community pours into Marvel Strike Force every single day. We especially appreciate the passionate, respectful manner with which these concerns have been raised. We know that they come from the desire to make this the best game for everyone involved, and as stewards of this game, we share the same goal with all our players. Please do continue providing feedback. We'll do our best to take it under consideration. We won't be perfect, but we strive to continually improve. In the meantime, we will announce further details on these topics as we nail them down in the very near future. Thank you. And I also want to point out that all of this happened before any actual spending freeze took place. So this was pretty much all stuff that the devs were already working on. They were already listening to the players. They can see the mounting frustration, and the community managers' jobs are to relay how places like the Facebook groups and Reddit are feeling and the types of things they're saying on some of the bigger Discord servers, and relay that back to the dev team. So again, you know, you can look at this however you want, but this was all going to be announced whether there was a spending strike or not. Now, maybe they would have announced it kind of staggered, but from what I can see here, almost none of these changes were a result of the actual strike. This was all things that they were already planning. So that's why I kind of cautioned against the strike, because I was saying, in short, while I agree that a lot of these things do need to be fixed, if you're going to get everyone up in arms and super worked up over how poorly we're being treated, you're about to find out that they've been looking out for us more than you think this entire time. So it might not be the best time to do this. Maybe wait, and then once you've seen the new stuff that they're going to be giving us, if you're unhappy with it, maybe then is when you take a stand. But so anyway, that's where I'm at. So I'm interested to know your guys' thoughts on the matter. I think I've blabbed on long enough about all this. So yeah, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. But in closing, I just want to say, regardless of what you think of me, I promise I do my best to try to look out for this community as best as I can. I will absolutely admit that I tend to give Foxnex the benefit of the doubt. I am aware that there are people at that company who just see players as a way to get money out of them, and that fact does not escape me. But at the end of the day, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt that they want us enjoying the game and having fun, and that they don't hate their own players, because of course they don't. So that's where I felt on this entire thing. Please let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. I'm gonna wrap for now because I've talked for long enough, and I will see you guys real soon. Until then, peace!